We're just 48 hours away from the first of 5 scheduled hot air balloon launches at the Balloon Classic 2001. Thanks for joining me. I'm Doug Quick. During this half hour, I, along with News Channel 15 Danville Bureau Chief Summer Jackson, will be giving you a preview of this weekend's Balloon Classic Illinois 2001. And it's brought to you by Provena United Samaritans Medical Center and by the News-Gazette. During the next half hour, we're going to be talking with Balloon Classic Illinois organizers about the history of the event, what's new for this year, and its economic impact to the Danville area. We're going to be chatting with one of the pilots for this weekend's hot air balloon flight and find out what it takes to get one of those magnificent balloons into the sky. And if you remember last year's weather, you know the weather plays a big part in the event. Later, we're going to be taking a look at this weekend's weather forecast. It's all coming up during the Balloon Classic 2001 preview here on News Channel 15. Welcome back. This year's Balloon Classic in Danville will offer more of the same family-oriented events. The carnival, family land, a petting zoo, the corporate cup competition, and some new attractions as well. Summer Jackson has a preview, plus a look back into the history of the event.
In over a dozen years, the Balloon Classic's had its share of ups and downs. But through sunshine and rain, each year spectators continue to flock to the now globally known event.
It's a huge event for the community. I get phone calls, and I'm sure the Tourist Bureau gets phone calls from Chicago and all over the country about this weekend.
Vermilion County Airport Manager Bob Gagnon is one of the founding fathers of the Balloon Classic. He says the idea started when he got a call from a friend in Chicago.
Well, he's our balloon meister, still a balloon meister, that handles all of the balloons. And I think he had wanted to do one in Chicago, and the airport manager at one of the Chicago airports said, well, why don't you call Bob down in Danville?
Gagnon says he always knew the idea had great potential, but he never expected it to last this long.
First year, I lost $6,000 putting this thing together, but I think that's probably the best $6,000 we ever spent.
It's really evolved from a balloon event into a festival with balloons as the primary attraction.
But Crick says it was a major blow when Oldsmobile ended its 13-year sponsorship of the Balloon Classic earlier this year, after General Motors announced it would discontinue the brand.
We had two choices. We could either cut back the event, reduce the budget, continue with the event, but still on a smaller scale, or figure a way out with maybe another sponsorship, although it's pretty late to try and go out and get a sponsor of Oldsmobile's quality and size, or look at the grant side of things.
Crick says it costs about $300,000 to put on the event. He says he and the Classic's 10 other board of directors created an idea that would stretch far beyond Danville. They developed a partnership with a balloon show in Gatineau, Canada, and applied for a state grant.
It was awarded through the Visitors Convention Bureau, Ginny Cook over there, and that's a one-year thing. So that takes care of this year's event. Now it's a matching grant.
Now the event is back on and ready to go. June 8th through 10th, the Vermilion County Airport will be transformed into a land and air show extravaganza with about 70 balloons expected to fly.
Weather continues to be a top concern for pilots and organizers since a balloon hasn't lifted off in about 4 years. But the attractions on the ground continue to draw crowds. This year, there are plenty of new and exciting events, from a forklift rodeo to a classic car show to Grammy Award-winning country western singer Terry Clark performing.
I think that makes a pretty strong weekend.
Both Crick and Gagnon say they hope the Balloon Classic can continue as long as possible. Summer Jackson reporting.
The major attraction for the Balloon Classic Illinois has to be the hot air balloons, and we're talking with Danville's own Hank Norris, who pilots a balloon. How and why did you become a pilot?
Well, flying in a balloon is one of those things that I'd always wanted to do, and 14, 15 years ago when Danville first had Balloon Classic, I thought, here's my opportunity. I'm going to sponsor a balloon and get a ride.
Now, how long have you actually participated in the event?
Well, I was a participant as a sponsor that year. The next couple of years I came out as crew volunteer, and after that I decided, you know, this would be fun to actually own a balloon, and bought a balloon and started learning to fly, and here I am today.
And tell us about your balloon that you're using.
Well, this balloon is called Robin's Nest. It's a Cameron balloon, actually manufactured in the United States in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I've owned this particular balloon almost 10 years now. The balloon at Balloon Classic is sponsored by the News Gazette. First of all, the balloon part, I guess, is technically called an envelope. Any airframe is also referred to as an envelope, or the skin around an airplane is referred to as its envelope. Inside the envelope, typically we fly around 200 degrees. A lot depends upon the ambient temperature. Just rule of thumb, you're normally, depending upon the load in the basket, you're somewhere between 100 to 120 degrees above ambient temperature. Again, there are a lot of variables there, but that's just a general rule of thumb.
Now, how many people can you actually put in the basket?
Again, depending upon the size of the envelope and the size of the basket, this is a 90,000 cubic foot envelope. I can carry 3 passengers, again, depending upon weight, depending upon condition. There are a lot of variables that go into that.
Now, it takes more people than just the pilot. How many people do you actually have in your crew?
Well, again, it varies. I have had as few as myself and 2 other people, and as many as 20 or 30. I mean, ballooning is a very social event, and that's one of the attractions for me, and so the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned.
Landing is an important part of it. How you determine where you're actually going to land?
Landing is one of the non-optional parts of ballooning, and typically we like to land on a road without power lines, or a friendly landowner if we can find one. Normally after flying 45 minutes or so, we start looking for a suitable landing place, and again, country road without power lines is a typical landing place.
Now, the weather last year washed out all of the scheduled flights. What criteria do pilots, or in this case the balloon meister, look at when determining whether or not a flight takes place?
Well, weather is the primary factor, and of course weather like this evening is near ideal. Winds less than 8 miles an hour, no thunderstorms in the area, no other abnormal climatic conditions.
Now, if you had to choose morning or evening, which flight is the most likely to occur during the Balloon Classic?
Well, I don't know if one is more likely than the other. Again, just very much depends upon conditions. Typically through the heating of the day, the evening flight may have some thermal or thermic activities. The mornings are what we call very steerable in that through the evening the winds kind of stratify, and that allows the pilots, by varying the altitude, can steer the balloon within certain parameters.
Now, this event includes privately owned balloons as well as the big corporate sponsored balloons, both competing for big prizes, right?
That's correct. Everybody that flies that's a sponsored pilot gets to compete for the money.
And we're hoping for some great weather this coming weekend.
You know, it's our turn, Doug. I think we should have some good weather this time.